know it's not like the movies. Not even me. I got signed when I was young, but things didn't really work out. Bruno Mars has been the magician for a long time, a captivating artist whose voice, stage presence, and classic hits have won hearts all over the world, but who is also personable. Behind a velvet screen of mystery, life stays mostly hidden. Bruno has always kept his public life separate from his private life, even though everyone knows him as the cool hit-making showman behind hits like Uptown Funk and Leave the Door Open. But now that he is 39, Bruno Mars has finally confirmed the stories about his life before he became famous. Today, let's tell the whole truth. Taking on tasks early on. Bruno Mars was born Peter Gene Hernandez on October 8, 1985, in Honolulu, Hawaii. From the moment he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by music. As one of 6 kids growing up in a mixed home with his father Peter, his childhood was anything but normal. Hernandez is Puerto Rican and stems from Ashkenazi Jewish family roots. His mother is named Bernarda. San Pedro Bayo was born in the Philippines but has Spanish roots. Bruno grew up with a lot of different kinds of music and customs. Both of his parents were very interested in music. Bernarda was a great singer and hula dancer, and Peter played drums with Latin rhythms. The couple played in a family band together called the Love Notes. Bruno's first and closest experience with live performing was in this band. He was lovingly called Bruno by his father from the time he was 2 years old, after the fat wrestler Bruno Sammartino. It stuck as a nickname. Today it's part of the persona he's built to become a worldwide star. Bruno began imitating Elvis Presley when he was only 4 years old. His Love Notes got a lot of attention for both his amazing copying and his amazing confidence and stage presence for someone so young. In Honolulu, where he quickly became famous, his shows were a big hit, especially at family shows at places like the Wiki Beach Marriott and the Hilton Hawaiian Village. The news reporters also learned about the young star. Bruno had a small but memorable role in the Hollywood movie Honeymoon in Vegas 1992, which starred Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker. He played a small Elvis impersonator who was mostly himself. His charm and eerie resemblance to the king of rock and roll stole the show. This was the first time he worked with people in the show business, even though the real problems were still ahead. As Bruno got older, he became interested in songs other than Elvis. He started to learn Michael Jackson's dance moves and singing style. This change not only gave him more things to do, but it also made him feel more connected to performance art. Bruno also learned to play many instruments at a young age. He taught himself by ear how to play the piano, drums, bass, and guitar. Bruno's parents split up when he was 12 years old, which put the once somewhat stable family into financial chaos. Bruno had a lot of problems, and so did some of his brothers and his father. There was a time when things were so bad that they had to stay in parts of the Honolulu Zoo, where Peter Hernandez used to work. Bruno never stopped acting, even though things were hard. He played in front of live crowds more often when he joined a band in high school called the Schoolboys. The group played at local events, and Bruno kept improving his skills by adding musical styles like reggae, R&B, rock, and pop, which would later make his sound unique. Bruno had already planned for something bigger by the time he finished from Honolulu's President Theodore Roosevelt High School. He changed his whole life when he decided at age 17 to move to Los Angeles to follow his dream of becoming a professional singer. But in this case, Bruno had to deal with racial stereotypes. Because his last name was Hernandez, people in the music business often put him in a box and told him to focus on Latin music, even though he liked other types of music and was very good at mixing them. He made a very important choice while being angry and determined. He changed his name to Bruno Mars. The name not only helped hide any racial assumptions, but it also showed how ambitious he was about going to the stars. Mars meant a sound that was out of this world and didn't fit into any one group. Things were going to get better. What goes on behind the scenes and the first big steps forward. Even though they had a new name and worked hard, the first few years in Los Angeles were not easy. Bruno's first big break came when he signed a deal with Motown Records, a label known for making stars but notorious for being hard on new artists. But the deal quickly went bad. He was dropped before he could make any real progress. A disappointing loss for someone who had worked so hard to get there. Soon after, he signed a production deal with will.i.am, the lead singer of the Black Eyed Peas, in the hopes that things would go better. But that partnership also didn't lead to any progress. Bruno was stuck. He wrote songs that no one wanted to hear, and he played for little or no pay in local places while still shopping his demos. Even so, these angers were necessary. During this time, Bruno worked hard on writing songs and producing them. He formed a close-knit team with singers Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine. They formed the production company The Smezingtons together. It wasn't just Bruno who would write hits with this trio, other singers did too. Flora's chart-topping song Right Round, which came out in early 2009 and was co-written by The Smezingtons, Dr. Luke and others, was the group's first big hit. The song, which sampled Dead or Alive's 1985 hit You Spin Me Round Like a Record, was a huge hit with fans. It went straight to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and broke records for digital sales, with over 636,000 downloads in its first week, which was a US record at the time. Bruno didn't sing on the song, but his work as a co-writer earned him his first big name in the music business and some money. More importantly, it established the Smethingtons as legitimate hitmakers, which led to opportunities to work with both well-known and up-and-coming acts. Building on that success, the team kept getting positions. Get Sexy by the British girl group Sugabus, which came out in August 2009, was one of their follow-up hits. Bruno and his team co-wrote and co-produced the song, which had elements of electronic pop and hip-hop. It reached number 2 on the UK singles list. The presence of Bruno was becoming more and more felt on the foreign pop charts, even though he stayed mostly out of sight. At the same time, he was quietly getting ready for his own launch as a lead singer, not as a ghostwriter. In late 2009, Atlantic Records finally gave Bruno that chance when they teamed him up with rapper Bobby Ray Simmons Jr. for the song Nothing on You. Bruno wrote the song with Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine, and even though his full words were in the demo, Atlantic had originally planned for another singer to do it, but B.O.B. heard the tape. He demanded that Bruno's vocals stay in the chorus. Nothing on You was a big hit when it came out in December 2009. In April 2010, it was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was also number 1 in the UK and a number of other places. Bruno's smooth, emotional singing on the chorus. Many people heard his singing through beautiful girls all over the world, who turned him from a songwriter into a star almost overnight. After Nothing on You became a hit, Billionaire, a song with Gym Class Heroes lead singer Travie McCoy, came out very quickly. Again, Bruno and his team co-wrote and produced the song. Bruno sang the catchy chorus of I Want to Be a Billionaire So Freaking Bad with his typical mix of soul and pop charm. When it came out in March 2010, the song went straight to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also did very well in Australia, the UK, and other places. A lot of people liked the song's reggae pop vibe and funny lyrics, and Bruno's part in it made him more than just a one-hit feature act. These early wins changed Bruno Mars's path in a big way. The Smethingtons were no longer just writing for other people. By making this sound, they were making it so that everyone would soon recognize Bruno. People in the business took notice, and Atlantic Records quickly signed Bruno as a solo act because they were impressed by how well he could sing and write songs. He would be working on his first full-length record, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, and getting ready to release his first EP, It's Better If You Don't Understand, in just a few months. But Bruno didn't give up his job behind the scenes, even as his own career took off. While they were married, the Smethingtons worked with singers such as Kenanen, Sean Kingston, and CEO Green. After all, Bruno co-wrote and co-produced Forget You for CEO, the number 1 single of 2010, and a song that received a lot of praise. Bruno Mars didn't get there by chance. He worked hard and built it. Solo fame and success in the mainstream. Bruno Mars's first studio record, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, came out on Elektra Records on October 4, 2010. It was a turning point in his career. The lead song from the album Just the Way You Are came out in July of that year. The song's warm piano melody and romantic lyrics made it quickly popular with many people. It went to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 4 weeks in a row. In 2011, he won his first Grammy for Best Male Pop Singing Performance for this song. There was something special about Doo-Wops and Hooligans in the pop music scene. Its mix of doo-wop, breezy acoustic pop, R&B grooves and heartfelt balladry was different from the highly electronic auto-tune productions that were popular at the time. When his second song Grenade came out in September 2010, it made him an even bigger star. The emotional anthem with powerful words about love that isn't returned and emotional sacrifice went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and in over a dozen other countries as well, such as the UK and Canada. Other great songs were The Lazy Song, which was a funny and mellow contrast, and Marry You, which became a worldwide hit at weddings. The record was a huge hit with buyers. It sold more than 6 million copies around the world and reached number 3 on the Billboard 200. Mars' second studio record, Unorthodox, built on the success of his first album, Jukebox, on December 7th. The sounds and themes on this record changed over time. Doo-Wop and Hooligans gave way to innocence and romanticism that wasn't the norm. Through a louder, more varied sound, Jukebox explored a wider range of emotions, such as desire, temptation, heartbreak, and defiance. Mark Ronson, Diplo, Jeff Basker, and the Returned Smethingtons were some of the well-known producers who worked on it. When the lead song Locked Out of Heaven came out in October 2012, it became a big hit right away. The track, which dropped at number 34 on the Billboard, showed Bruno's ability to blur genre lines with its rock groove that was influenced by Cops, Hot 100, and finally became number 1. Other huge hits came from the record, like When I Was Your Man, a piano ballad that sounds like old soul heartbreakers, and again made it to number 1 on the Billboard charts.
Treasure and Gorilla showed that he could change sound from funk to soul with rock influences to sexy pop without losing his identity. The first week of Unorthodox Jukebox peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200. In the second week, it rose to number 1. More than 6 million copies were sold around the world, cementing Bruno's place as one of the best pop acts of the 2010s. It won the Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2014. Bruno Mars may have been officially a success on February 20, 2014, when he was the main act at the Super Bowl 48 halftime show at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. At the time, more than 115 million people in the U.S. alone watched it, making it one of the most watched halftime shows in history. Bruno started the show with a drum solo, which is an often overlooked part of his talent. He then played his best hits with a lot of energy. In the middle of the show, the Red Hot Chili Peppers joined him for a fast-paced version of Give It Away, which mixed rock and funk in a way that was typical of Mars. Critics say that the performance had a good mix of showmanship, musicianship, and real excitement. Mars took over the stage with charisma and raw talent, unlike many halftime acts that rely on complicated visual effects and fireworks. This showed that he had fully arrived as a world-class performance. After that, Bruno Mars took a short break from the public eye and used the time to work on what would become one of his most important pieces of work, 24K Magic. When it came out on November 18, 2016, the album was a deliberate return to the sounds of the late 1980s and early 1990s, especially New Jack Swing, funk, and R&B with a fancy sure look. A rebranding of the Smezingtons after Airy was made with shampoo press and curl. 24K Magic, Levine's last album, was a return to style, musicianship, and cultural importance. The lead song 24K Magic came out in October 2016 and set the mood right away with its talkbox intro, synthesized bass lines, and cocky attitude. It got as high as number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and showed up at a lot of parties, sports games, and award shows. That's What I Like, the album's second hit, did even better. Using trap-inspired beats, smooth R&B singing, and clever lyrics about love and luxury. In May 2017, the song was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Bruno won 6 Grammys for it in 2018, including Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best R&B Song. Finesse, which got a retro 90s remix with rapper Cardi B in 2018, was another standout track on the record. The remix's music video, which was based on the TV show In Living Color, went popular. The reviews for 24K Magic were great because it was well put together and felt like a throwback. The record was one of the most popular of 2017 and won Bruno Mars the Grammy for Album of the Year. Finally, at the end of the 2010s, Bruno Mars had become one of the most important pop acts of our time, but there was still more. How Silk Sonic came to be and its success. These two artists met for the first time in 2017, while Pac was opening for Bruno Mars on his 24K Magic World Tour. As they talked backstage, admired each other's work, and played music together without planning to, the idea of a deeper creative relationship began to form. Over the next few years, their occasional recording sessions, which were usually held in casual studios, turned this spark into something more solid. In February 2021, the two artists officially switched their name to Silk Sonic. Funk legend Bootsy Collins came up with the name and gave his voice to the project's intro. Their goal was clear, to make a sound that paid homage to the soul and funk of the 1970s, while also appealing to people today. Bootsy's involvement was both symbolic and practical, connecting them directly to the era they admired. Their first single, Leave the Door Open, came out on March 5, 2021, and both critics and fans praised its smooth slow jam charm, breathy harmonies, and elegant instrumentation like strings, piano, glockenspiel, and laid-back drums that perfectly captured the emotional depth of Philadelphia soul. The words are warm and flirty, and funny, talked about moonlit vows and cozy mansion nights, showing how the two were alike in their silly and sincere ways. Some publications like The Guardian said it was perfect vintage R&B, and Vulture said it mixed nostalgia with a modern sense of style. The track got a lot of attention on social media, and fans on sites like Reddit praised it as a modern classic born again in the grand tradition of soul, as well as Silk Sonic in the Evening. On November 12, 2021, the whole record came out. Building on the success of its first song, the project used production methods that were true to the time period, such as specific drum skins, guitar picks, and live band arrangements recorded in shared rooms to make the studio sound like it was in the 1970s. Babyface, her producer, Dial, Thundercat, and other artists all contributed to it, working together to keep old soul stories alive and bring them up to date. The artistry and execution of the record hit home deeply. In April 2022, at the 64th Grammy Awards, Silk Sonic won 4 awards: Record of the Year for Leave the Door Open, Song of the Year, Best R&B Performance, and Best R&B Song. They won all 4 awards, beating out all other nominees in every category. The event began with a lively live performance of Trip 7. Bruno Mars surprised everyone in October 2022 when he said that Silk Sonic would not be submitting an evening with him for a 2023 Grammy. He said that the duo had already found great artistic satisfaction with Leave the Door Open and received worldwide acclaim and 4 Grammys. They chose to gracefully, humbly, and most importantly, sexually bow out of further competition. Many people saw this choice as a statement that was meant to be taken seriously. Silk Sonic could leave on their own terms, putting art above praise and making room for other big records by artists like Beyoncé, Adele, and Kendrick Lamar. Besides winning awards, Silk Sonic's success brought back a lot of interest in R&B and soul music with a retro feel. Since then, modern artists have used lush arrangements, analog instruments, and retro looks in their own work. Older fans who grew up listening to bands like the O'Jays or Earth, Wind and Fire liked the record, as did younger people who were introduced to the old-school groove for the first time. Even though Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak are back to working on their own projects, Silk Sonic's influence lives on. Fans and critics alike want to see the pair perform together again, because their chemistry and open love for a bygone age made for a career-defining moment. But what about the guy who makes the music? Bruno Mars, the riddle. Many famous people today use social media like a personal journal, but Bruno Mars doesn't do that. He stays focused on music and leaves little of a digital record. His Instagram and Twitter accounts are only used to post about his tours, accept awards, show behind-the-scenes studio moments, and sometimes make people laugh. Never get involved in personal drama or lifestyle waste. When asked to talk about his personal life in a 2017 60 Minutes interview, he led the whole conversation instead. Back to craft, putting the focus on his dedication. This is what I was made to do. It means giving your all to your work. They spend a lot of time in the studio learning how to write songs so they can get better. This conversation showed Mars at his most honest, as someone who believes that his public image should be based on his art, not his fame. Mars has decided not to give in to the pressure that comes with being a celebrity to be on all the time. When talking about his personal life or things that would make the tabloids interested, he often goes back to talking about music. Mars's lack of activity on social media is on purpose. The way he eats is polished and professional. Photos from the studio that look great, videos from the stage that sparkle, and news about new songs or stays, personal posts like a joke about paying off fake debt. They don't show up very often and are carefully set in humor. To Rolling Stone, he once said, "You'll never see me Instagramming at a party. I don't take my phone." Mars's long-term relationship with model actress Jessica Cabin, which has stayed out of the public eye, is a big part of this method. In 2011, they met for the first time at a diner in a New York City hotel on the Little East Side. Author Emily Herbert wrote about a chance meeting between Mars and Cabin. She says that Mars approached Cabin before they talked, and this started a relationship that would last for more than 10 years. Cabin, who was born in Harlem, moved to Los Angeles in 2012 to help her job in their relationship. Even though they've been together for a long time, the public rarely sees them together.
In 2014, 2016, and 2018, they all went to the Grammys together. Mars always chose to show thanks over making big claims. In 2018, when he won his 6th and final Grammy, he said, "My lady Jessica, I love you, baby. Thank you for being my rock and being by my side throughout this whole process." Their relationship has sometimes been the inspiration for famous songs. Mars told Rolling Stone's May 2013 cover story that Jessica, who was going through a rough patch in her relationship, gave him ideas for the piano ballad When I Was Your Man. He called the song Too Close to Home, but he wouldn't say more. In a 2016 interview with Rolling Stone, he laughed when asked if they were going to get married. "Oh my God, she's my best friend in rock. What's wrong with that? We are just pleased." They have also lived together quietly. After moving in together legally around 2012, maybe into his house in the Hollywood Hills, they kept up a comfortable life together. They decided to keep the sensory details of their relationship secret, like the fact that they had a Rottweiler named Geronimo, in their close group of friends. After that, Cabin's simple social media post about their first trip together in October 2022 was the only private act that got a lot of attention. Throughout the decade, Bruno and Jessica stayed together but were never seen. This was true even when there were rumors in early 2024 that their relationship was falling apart because she deleted photos of them on Instagram, and there were reports that they were splitting up. During the holidays, they were living apart. Neither Mars nor Cabin confirmed or said anything. Cabin only got public praise a few months later, in January 2025, when she wrote on Instagram that she would always be happy for all of his future successes and cheer him on from afar. The state of their relationship is still unknown today, but the two people's silence continues to say a lot. A relationship that lasted more than 10 years happened mostly behind the scenes and finished in a way that was in line with Mars's overall morals. If it did end, it didn't happen in a big way that made the news, but rather in a quiet way that made the shift. There's more though. Bruno Mars has finally said that the reports were true. Around the end of 2023, there was a lot of talk in the entertainment world about Bruno Mars and a $50 million gambling debt that is said to be due to MGM Resorts. The The story got a lot of attention in part because Mars has a history of performing high-stakes shows at places like the Park MGM's Dolby Live Theater. At the same time as all the sudden talk, Mars and MGM were virtually silent online. Fans noticed that Mars had deleted several posts from his social media accounts, but MGM did not respond right away. By the beginning of 2024, the rumor was always brought up when people talked about Mars's job. Some irresponsible sources used anonymous insiders to say that Mars had become addicted to gaming during his long stays in Las Vegas. These rumors got even stronger because of his lucrative deal with MGM Resorts, which he signed in 2016 and was said to include a revenue-sharing plan for shows, merchandise, and endorsements. This was used by critics as proof that the deal hid a greater financial mess. But there were never any reliable financial records or court papers that came up to back up the claims of debt. In a formal statement made in March 2024, MGM Resorts International finally responded to the controversy. They strongly denied that Bruno Mars owed them any money. The statement made it clear that the artist was still a valuable partner and that rumors of a $50 million debt were completely and totally false. This put some rumors to rest, but a lot of fans were still confused about the original silence and when the rebuttal came out. Bruno Mars finally spoke up in the most Bruno Mars way possible. He is known for his charm and wit, by being funny. In April 2024, he made a series of tweets that were meant to poke fun at the reports. Someone joked, "Working 3 jobs, singer, dancer, and now apparently casino cleaner." One tweet said, "I just gambled away my last pineapple shirt, please send help." A lot of people shared and praised these mocking comments as proof that Mars wouldn't let scandal culture control how people saw him. In January 2025, when Mars had a big job, the story took another funny turn. Milestone, Spotify now has more than 150 million monthly followers. To mark the event, he shared a happy message on Instagram with a picture of himself in a studio and wrote, "At this rate, I'll be out of debt in no time." The post got millions of likes and comments, has gotten thousands of likes and comments, showing that people liked his strange and funny style. Mars had successfully turned the debate into a funny side story of his public journey, rather than letting it bring him down. At the same time, Bruno Mars kept making music that was interesting by pushing the limits of both production and cooperation. Early in 2025, word got out that he was working on a new studio record with Anderson .Paak. It would be his first since 2021's An Evening with Silk Sonic. Insiders say that the new project continues his habit of combining old-school soul funk with modern pop, but the specifics are still a secret. Inspirations could lead to more experimenting with different genres. At about the same time, Mars started to work out the details of a world trip that would last from late 2025 to early 2026. A clear sign that the noise from the tabloids had not made him less appealing. More fuel to this fire was a string of good partnerships. The most famous of these is his duet with Lady Gaga, Die With A Smile, which came out in February 2025 and got great reviews right away. The song was nominated for Record of the Year at the 67th Grammy Awards. It is a lush power ballad with dramatic orchestration and soaring singing. At the same time, he surprised everyone by appearing on Sexy Red's bold, bass-heavy hip-hop song Fat, Juicy and Wet. Fans praised Mars for being able to work outside of his normal style and genre boundaries, even though the track's explicit content made people take notice. Mars's Las Vegas engagement, which has always been a big part of his live show brand, started up again with new dates set for May 21st to June 2nd, 2025 at the Dolby Live Theater. People are still very excited about his stage personality and musical skill, as shown by the fact that tickets sold out in hours. It's becoming clearer that Bruno Mars has an unmatched ability to avoid being scrutinized by the public, while still maintaining his mystery. Despite being easy to relate to, he skillfully stays out of reach. Fans feel like they know Mars because of his honest humor and emotional songs, but he doesn't let many people into his private life. This is to avoid being too public in a time when many celebrities live online. The bond between Bruno Mars and his fans has never been stronger, and the world can't wait to see what he does next. His mix of showmanship, sincerity, and sharp wit is a welcome change in a culture that is often ruled by scandal and cynicism. Fans should enjoy his music, celebrate his achievements, and as he jokes, like, share with your favorite Bruno song, and subscribe for now, because Bruno Mars isn't going anywhere. That's all for now. Thanks for seeing. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, please like, comment, and follow so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, don't miss this movie. Take a look at what's on your screen right now.